Home Loan Bank of New York, and I said to them, you know, you've done a decent job in helping groups develop affordable housing. Some of the affordable housing that has been developed in Plainfield, you didn't know this, but it was backed by money from the Federal Home Loan Bank of New York. I went to them, and in an hour, they gave me a $6 million line of credit to use to buy houses, and we used, the first house we bought was the house that belonged to Reverend Ball's member. And here was the commitment. We borrowed the money from a local bank. We got a local bank to borrow the money from the Federal Home Loan Bank at a discount rate. They lend us the money at a discount rate, which means that our interest rate is low enough to keep the rent payments affordable. And so we pay them back based on the rent that comes from the tenant. We sign a lease with the tenant, and the tenant says, I will come to classes to make sure that I'm handling money properly, I'm going to work on my budget. Our commitment is, if you need a job, we're going to assign a job placement person with you to help you find a job. If the stress of financial problems has created a need for counseling, we will get you stress management counseling. In 2 cases, we had a family that was dealing with domestic violence. In other words, a mortgage problem is more than a mortgage problem. And we keep hearing people talk about foreclosure as if the only thing a family needs if they're in foreclosure is a new mortgage. If you're 1 hour away from having the sheriff lock your house up, you've gone through enough emotional stress to need much more than a new mortgage. The Reverend Ball's member had said that the rent, she told us how much money she could afford to pay for rent. She had a funny mortgage that had gone up higher than she could afford, and we structured our finances to make sure that the monthly rent was what she said she could afford. We helped her look at her finances to affirm the fact that she could afford that much rent. And then she signed a lease, and our commitment is to sell her back her house for less than she owed the bank originally, which means she gets all of her equity back. Now, we also asked her, and we made it clear, Jerry, that if something happens in your life, if you change your mind about our relationship, if things get funny and we don't know, we will call Reverend Ball. We will call Reverend Ball because, you know, we met you through Reverend Ball, and we know that you trust Reverend Ball, and Reverend Ball will get up on Sunday morning and talk about you, you know. And every family we work with, there's got to be somebody, if not a reverend, maybe a godmother, a grandma. Everybody has somebody in his or her life that he or she will not embarrass. And we just call that, Reverend Brown, an accountability partner. Just to help people get back, because we don't want to own the house. It's not our goal to own the house. We want people to get their houses back. And when the rent comes to our office, because of the foreclosure, the family's credit score has gone down. And the only way the person can become a homeowner again is to get their credit score up to ensure that they are bankable. Even FHA requires some credit score. They say they don't, but they really do. And so what we will do is report the rent to the credit bureaus so that the rent payments can contribute to increasing the person's credit picture. And in 1 year, most of our participants should be able to buy back, and certainly within 2 years. Now that's Reverend Ball's member. That's Reverend Ball's member. We had another situation where the debt was $220,000, and I'm just telling you our business because, you know, because I've offered what we have to anybody who wants to use it. The debt was $220,000, and the house was only worth $190,000, and you're going to find that more and more and more and more. We bought the house for $110,000. Family now has gone from having $30,000 negative equity to the house now has $80,000 positive equity. We're going to split with some percentage. We're going to split the equity with the family. We will take our expenses out, and that family will have at least $35,000 to $40,000 in equity when when they buy the house back. We have an 83-year-old woman in Irvington who's lived in a house since 1979. 2 years ago, she thought she got a reverse mortgage, but she got an arm. And so she went into foreclosure. She lived there. The bank has owned the house for a year, and now she lived in that house, and the bank is threatening to put her out. We stopped the foreclosure. We just made an offer on our house. We will buy her house back. We will buy her house from the bank, and then work out a way for her to get the house back from us as quickly as we can. There are thousands of people in New Jersey who are living in their house, even though the bank has already taken their house. And the sheriffs are doing the best job they can, but the sheriffs are under court order to evict people, and even the sheriffs and the judges can't stop it when it reaches the end of the road. We have been raising money. We have access to money. Now every family doesn't qualify for this help. Every family doesn't need this help. There's some families whose loans can be worked out. There's some families who can take a $10,000 MAP loan and kind of bridge the gap, and they can work their way out through their payments. But there's some families who absolutely need this help. We plan to close on 25 houses between now and Christmas. So, what I told Assemblyman Green, my commitment to Assemblyman Green, not so much as chairman for Plainfield, but as chairman for the whole state for housing. What he asked me to do was to bring to that committee another strategy for the state. When you're trying to build something, you need more than one tool. What we have is one tool. We call it HARP, Housing Assistance and Recovery Program. It's very focused on helping people whose houses have been taken by the bank or who are very close to losing their house to work with us this way. And that tool we're making available right now in 8 counties, but I am not going from county to county and city to city setting up little branches of First Baptist. What we are doing is partnering with churches, with pastors, with community groups, and in Plainfield, the situation is so intense, it has been intense, with bank-owned houses and vacant houses. What we're urging everybody in Plainfield to allow Faith Bricks and Mortars to coordinate our resources in this town. Faith Brick and Mortar is a local organization, credit organization, Harvest is here, and others. We met with Faith Brick and Mortars. We've talked to them. Since 1993, they've been doing a great job creating affordable housing. We don't have the capacity or the resources to run around from every church and every organization, but Faith Brick and Mortars is on the ground, and all that means is that they're making space available for us. We're helping them expand their capacity, and through Faith Brick and Mortars, what we plan to do is to make our resources available to this community, and our commitment is to help build Faith Brick and Mortars to have the capacity to manage HARP in Plainfield. Now that's our commitment. Let's give it up for Faith Brick and Mortars. The question is, there are a couple of questions I'll answer before you ask me questions. Suppose Reverend Ball's member, who is now a few months into her lease, suppose she decides before the year is out, she doesn't want her house back. Suppose she wants to move to Alabama. Suppose she gets sick and needs to move to an apartment, and now she's got that $60,000 in equity that we technically own. Our commitment is, if Reverend Ball's member decides to change her mind, if she moves south, if she goes to an apartment, if she just does not want her house, we will sell the house and give her equity. Just give it to her. So let's be real clear on that, all right? How do we operate? Our business model assumes that we're raising outside money to operate to ensure that we don't have to charge fees and we're not trying to make a profit. There are foreclosure vultures who are taking advantage of this economy to make money for themselves. That's not what we do. And we've asked the state to regulate us to protect the public from us becoming vultures. We've asked the state to do something to certify organizations that do this kind of work so that people can differentiate between us and the people that put up signs saying we buy houses for cash. We've asked to be regulated, and that's a part of what Jerry's committee is working on. The other piece of this, there are two other pieces that I want to tell you about. A lot of the people we're working with right now don't own their houses, but they rent their houses. Or they rent apartments in houses. And if you're a tenant and you're living in a house that has been taken by the bank, you are in trouble. And chances are you didn't even know it was in foreclosure. You came home one day, saw a sign on your building that it was up for sheriff's sale 7 days. And while there are laws that protect tenants, we all know that effective lawyers know how to get around the laws that protect tenants. Fortunately, the governor's put more money now in legal services, and there'll be more lawyers available to help tenants protect their rights. But in the meantime, what we've done is we've accessed funds that we can use to buy commercial properties, and there are people right now, in fact, some of our people have been renting so long they've actually bought the house. And so tenants who would like to keep the house that their landlord has lost, we're working with them to buy that house so that they can continue paying rent, but their rent will now be a mortgage payment. That's the second thing. The third thing I'll mention is that we have begun negotiating with banks to buy groups of houses. There are lenders in Plainfield, Mayor Briggs, that owns multiple houses. Homecoming, Mortgage Company, Wells Fargo, and others. And what we're doing now, in 3 or 4 instances, we are talking to these lenders, and we're saying to them, and we're partnering with municipalities. We're working in Burlington City, we're working in Trenton, we're working in a few other cities, where we, along with the mayor, will say to the bank, make a list of all of the houses you own in our town, and we'll buy all of them. Just buy all of them. Every vacant house. Because we can't do this one house at a time, because the houses that are vacant, the longer they stay vacant, the harder it is to bring back on the market, and the more they drain the value of the houses that are not vacant. And so in my speech, Jerry, at the League of Municipalities, I'm inviting mayors. We're working with the mayor of Irvington, the mayor of Orange. We're working with mayors and city councils across the state to address the banks. Let's not wait for the banks to come to us. Let's go after the banks and say to the banks, we will buy every house you own in our city. We will fix those houses up, and we'll make them affordable housing for people as tenants or homeowners in this town. There's one final example. This was theory until yesterday. In some cases, there are some people whose houses are more expensive than they should live in. One of our early cases was tragic. It was in a town in Somerset County where a guy, his income was, $3,200 a month. His mortgage was $3,100 a month. He had 2 car payments and 4 kids. And his wife went back to school. and they'd have to give us the house. We'd have to give him the house. There are cases like that where people just need to move. I mean, it's just not a good situation. They can't save anything. I mean, we can't even help them. And so we now